My name's Perry Adebar. I'm from UBC Vancouver, and here with my colleagues to talk about civil engineering at UBC. Here's an overview of the presentation. I'll talk about civil engineering, what it is. Then I'll talk about the Vancouver program. My colleague will talk about the UBC Okanagan program, and he'll then talk about different employment opportunities in civil engineering. Okay, so what's civil engineering? If you go very broadly and think about it, it's one of the oldest, if not the oldest discipline. Back in the days when there was only military engineering and civil engineering. Civil engineering was everything to do with society, civilization, humanity, right? So a nice broad definition: planning, design, construction, and maintenance of the physical and naturally built environment, right? For the purpose of humans on Earth. There's a broad range of different types of civil engineering projects and systems. And on the right here, you see a picture of the Site C Dam, BC Hydro Dam, which was completed this summer. This is during construction. This is obviously a large civil engineering project, right? But there's other types. There's buildings, bridges, roads, airports, water and wastewater systems, and so on, right? And civil engineering generally involves science, mathematics, technology, but it also, very importantly, involves things like safety. That's obviously an important. Sustainability and environmental impact are all really important components of civil engineering. Here's another example. This is, again, it's an infrastructure. This is a bridge. This is the Patello Bridge replacement between Surrey and New Westminster. This is a photo from September. And again, a big civil engineering project. And within this, there are specialists working on the structure, on the materials, on the hydrotechnical, the water aspects, the environmental impact, the foundation of the bridge. And all of these people took civil engineering when they were at university. Okay, but these are different aspects of civil engineering. Here's a simple little civil engineering system, but a very important system. On the left, we have waste. On the right, we have drinking water. And one of the most important issues is providing, safe drinking water for humans around the world. It's a really important issue. And one of the important issues is that wastewater contaminates that fresh water. And how does civil engineering solve it? Well, this is one example. This talks about a wastewater disinfection solution you see in the cartoon picture there, which is actually being implemented in places like a refugee camp in Bangladesh, okay, as an example. And, a really important issue is providing fresh water and dealing with wastewater, which is one of the many things civil engineers do. Now, the really neat thing about civil engineering is the fact that it has all these different sub-disciplines, okay? And they're very different. You can take the civil engineering program and take very different courses than somebody else or when you specialize and you go to work, you're doing very different work than somebody else who took the program. Here's a partial list of the sub-disciplines: structural, that's my area; transportation, geotechnical, environmental, water resources, hydrotechnical, and the list goes on and on. And it's a partial list, right? It's some of the important ones. Here's the important aspect that civil engineers interact with a number of other professionals. Like on the left, we have architects and planners. Down below, public and policy makers. On the right, other professionals like engineers and scientists. And again, within this bubble, we see that civil engineering involves all different aspects and subdisciplines. And finally, the last slide on this, to deal with the idea that you take this broad program, and one thing you could do is you take it and you go into business or management. A lot of graduates do that. It's a good place to make money, actually. And civil engineers make very good managers. Okay, or you might want to become a technical specialist. And if you do that, then these would be the different titles that you would be called as a technical specialist. So you could be an environmental engineer. You graduate from civil engineering, become an environmental engineer. There are other ways to become an environmental engineer, but civil engineering is one good way. Structural engineer, well, you've got to come through civil, geotechnical engineer, materials engineer, transportation engineer, hydrotechnical, coastal, construction engineer, and the list goes on and on. Again, it's a partial list. Okay, so that's civil engineering, a very broad discipline with different sub-disciplines. It's a really neat part about the program. Now talking about Vancouver. So first of all, Vancouver program is old. It's well established. It's got a very good reputation. It's been ranked #1 in Canada for the past 3 years in the QS World Rankings, right? Better than U of T, McGill, Alberta. It's the top civil engineering program in Canada. It's top 25 in the world. And some more numbers, we've got 20 different research labs and centers and 32 faculty members working in civil engineering in Vancouver. As I said, it's an old program. It's actually one of the founding, oops, sorry about that. It's actually one of the founding departments in Vancouver, the UBC campus. It established in 1915, first graduates in 22. First woman graduated in 1973. And today we have quite a large percentage of our program is women. We're happy about that and proud of that. It's a large program. Yearly cohort size is 130. It's a very diverse group in many ways. I talked about gender. There's also, lots of international students, which makes it strong. It's quite a close-knit group. Here on the right, you see some photos of the teams that civil engineering students in Vancouver get involved with, and the Okanagan, you'll see more of that. These extracurricular teams are a really important part of a broad civil engineering education, and my colleague's going to speak more to that important point. Now, I'm going to get into the weeds a bit on the program in Vancouver. So first of all, the first year is common. You get admitted to engineering in Vancouver, similarly in the Okanagan. And then here's what you take when you take the Vancouver program. And actually, the Okanagan program is quite similar. There's lots of similarities in the two programs. So you take civil engineering, communications, fluid mechanics, solid mechanics, earth science, mathematics, fundamentals of environmental, soil mechanics, structural mechanics, and more mathematics, materials. Third year, modeling and decision making, computational tools, more soil mechanics, fluid mechanics, materials, structural analysis, which is like mathematically modeling structures. That's a neat one. Construction engineering and management. Impacts, that's like environmental impacts. Environmental engineering applications, hydrology and open channel flow, steel and timber, transportation. You see lots of different courses in all these different sub-disciplines, giving you that really broad education. And then in fourth year in Vancouver, you take less courses are required, and then you take 5 elective courses. And I'll speak in a minute to what those electives are, but you take, in the first semester, you take design of concrete structures. That's actually my course. And here you see a photo I took a week ago with our students actually attending a test in the lab to see a concrete beam failing. The other thing you do is you see on the bottom row, that's the civil engineering design project. And I'm going to give you some examples of the kinds of projects that students do in fourth year. First of all, more on the electives. These are the 6 different areas that you can concentrate in your fourth year: environmental systems, geotechnical, hydrotechnical, project and construction management, structural and earthquake, and transportation engineering. Okay, and you can, if you want, you can specialize in one of these or in a couple of these, or if you want to stay broad, you can also do that. And here's an example of a fourth year capstone design project. This was a group doing structural engineering, and they designed a replacement bridge in Vancouver. Here's a transportation engineering project, the redesign of an intersection in Vancouver, this traffic circle with all the bike lanes and things. And here's an environmental project, and this was a landfill site and what needed to be done to minimize the impact of this landfill site on the surrounding environment in the future when the landfill site was closing. Okay, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague to talk about the Okanagan program.
Thank you very much. Uh, Hello, everybody. My name is Mahmoud Fatmi. I'm an associate professor in civil engineering at UBC's Okanagan campus. And my job today is to present to you the civil program that we have at Okanagan and also overall what job opportunities are there for civil engineers. So, as my colleague mentioned, that very similar to the Vancouver campus, we also have a civil engineering program in the Okanagan campus. Now, putting things into context a little bit, Okanagan, overall, the campus size is relatively small, but here's an interesting fact, which is the cohort of civil engineering students each year is around 90 to 100. So it's reasonably a large program that we have. Now, what we offer here at the Okanagan is we work with the students to create a multidisciplinary space for learning. And learning can happen broadly, if I say three different ways. One, inside the classroom. Second, through engagement in research. And third, outside the classroom through extracurricular activities. Now, I will briefly expand each one of those three dimensions now. So next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so learning inside the classroom. So building on what my colleague just presented, we in the Okanagan, we also have a very similar structure of the courses. Very similar common first year and then more specialized courses in second, third, and fourth years. Now, in addition to the typical civil engineering pathway that you can take, which my colleague has already presented, in the Okanagan, you can take two concentrations. By concentration is you get, if students chooses these options or concentrations, they get more training on these specific topics. The first one is the resilient infrastructure management, which is RIM. If a student takes this concentration, they get more specialized training about the methodologies to plan, manage, and safeguard infrastructure systems. Next slide, please. The second concentration that a student can choose is an environmental engineering concentration. So what students get exposed to in this concentration is more training and through courses to learn and address the critical challenges in water quality, air pollution, waste management, and sustainable resource systems. Next slide, please. Now, the second dimensions of learning is through extracurricular activities, which is a very important one because this is where students actually largely build their community with the peers. So in the Okanagan, we have a number of student clubs and design teams. So for example, the first one, CSCE, a student chapter, which the CSCE stands for Canadian Society for Civil Engineers, which is a national society of civil engineers. And we have a student chapter of that society. This picture that you can see, it has a very important significance for us because this is the 2024 concrete toboggan team, and in 2024 this team won the national championship on designing and building a toboggan and this competition have occurred in the East Coast. And if I piggyback on my initial comment that we create a space for multidisciplinary learning, this is a wonderful example of that because this team, as you can see, does not only include civil engineering students, it includes students from other disciplines, for example, mechanical engineering as well. In addition to this, we also have student clubs for Water and Waste Association. Next slide, please. Student clubs for Transportation Engineering, Railway Engineering, and IEEE. Next slide, please. Now I will talk about the research opportunities and building on what my colleague just described, that civil engineering is a discipline that has many sub-disciplines, and we have research facilities in most of them. And research facilities can be categorized, if I categorize them into two ways, one can be experimental, second one can be modeling. So we have experimental research facility, for example, the first example that we have here, green construction research and training center center where you can do, my colleague was showing you the failing of a beam. We have similar structural experimental facility in Okanagan campus. The second the piece that I want to talk about is about data, and which is if I ask you about the time that we live, what is the most important or significant aspect of the current time? Many of you may come back that with the answer that, oh, it's about data, it's about information, it's about AI, it's about machine learning, it's about theory-based modeling simulation. And civil engineering, as although as my colleague mentioned, that is one of the oldest one, if not the oldest, but it has evolved over time from being mostly focused on design to now using these new opportunities of the tremendous data we have to tackle new challenges that is out there. So we have, and in at the UBC Okanagan campus, we have number of research facilities that collects data, that uses data, and that helps in the planning, designing, and policy making purposes. So one example could be my research expertise is in transportation. So the top left corner of the figure that you see, that's my lab. And what we do there is we use data, we collect data real time, we collect data through collaborations with academic and industry partners, and we build models. We build AI based, machine learning, theory based models, and we generate results and we give the information back to the community through policymakers to help them make decisions on where to invest and what it should be. So, and here is a list of the research opportunities that you can see. For example, in addition to the structure and transportation life cycle management research, there is bioreactor technology research. Next slide, please. There is opportunity for intelligence sensing, diagnostic and prognostics research, environmental and water research, construction integration and digitization research, and last but not the least, advanced and livable infrastructure systems research. Next slide. So now what we have done so far is we have introduced to you what is civil engineering, what is the civil engineering program in Vancouver, how does the civil engineering program in Okanagan looks like. Now you may be thinking that, okay, where do civil engineers actually get a job? Or whether they actually get a job or not. I can tell you, yes, they do. And here is a list of places, broad categories of places where civil engineers typically work. So, for example, consulting companies like WSP, Urban Systems, hire civil engineers. Construction companies like Letco hire civil engineers. Power, energy, infrastructure companies, for example, Fortis BC hire civil engineers. Then different level of the government agencies, from cities to federal government to provincial government hires civil engineers, and crown corporations like BC Transit hire civil engineers. And last but not the least, civil engineers themselves are civil engineers. For example, you are more than welcome, and there are opportunities to come up with new ideas and build a startup company as a part of the program. Next slide, please. Okay, now you may be thinking, these folks hire civil engineers, but what is the demand for civil engineers? Here is some data for you. So this data comes from the Employment Outlook of 2025, and there were around more than 10,000 job openings for civil engineers, and this was one of the top discipline in terms of number of job openings. So there's a lot of jobs. But now why is that? Because to maintain the quality of life of human, we need to invest in new infrastructure. We need to plan new infrastructure. Not only new, we need to operate and maintain the existing infrastructure like transit infrastructure, housing, and so on. And to do that, we need civil engineers. Next slide, please. And here is the different, although you are, I think this is very similar to what my colleague was discussing. You can do a civil engineering degree, get a civil engineering degree, but you can choose very different pathway depending not only on the concentration, but even if you can get a general civil engineering degree and then you can get into any of this pathway and become a specialist in structural engineering or transportation engineering or environmental engineering and so on. And just to build on this a little bit, even these pathways have also evolved and to respond to the need. So, for example, because I'm transportation researcher, transportation engineer, that career pathway, these days there is a new term which is transportation planning engineer. The reason is things have become so multidisciplinary, and the work that I do is right at the intersection, for example, of civil engineering, urban planning, computer science, geography. So you need to learn, you need to we need to and we can contribute in so many different ways in a multidisciplinary space. So those are some of the evolution that is happening within the engineering and newer ways to for us to contribute, which is good because more opportunities for us. And thank you, and happy to answer any questions if you folks have. We also have, in addition to us,
Yeah.
we also have Mofo, a fourth year student in civil engineering. So yeah, she is very knowledgeable and happy to answer hard questions, I think.
Okay, so here's one I think we can all contribute. Co-op. We've had a lot of discussion about co-op, and I think again, Mojo info we can answer better than me. But there are quite a wide variety of co-op opportunities, right? Again, they're in all the different sub-disciplines. And I think go ahead. Actually, I think it'd be great to tell a little bit about your experience with co-op, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I've done 16 months of co-op in the Yukon territories. I did 4 months with the government of Yukon, and then I did a year with the city of Whitehorse. And with the government of Yukon, I did bridge construction, and then the city of Whitehorse, I did transportation engineering. So there's a wide variety of opportunities in BC, in the territories, even Alberta. Some people go to Ontario as well. And it's very multifaceted as well. Like you don't just stick the, to one discipline as well.
Great,
And
thanks.
maybe just to build on that a little bit, I can share with you. I think it may be very similar in Vancouver as well. In Okanagan, civil engineering students are one of the top in terms of securing a co-op opportunity. So there it again it speaks about the amount of opportunities are out there to get to learn beyond classroom. I think for civil engineers.
Yeah, good point. So I'm going to start on the next one, but I think both of you need to jump in. So, how heavy is the weekly workload? I mean, all engineering programs are quite heavy, right? And it's all about balance. And again, I think we could call on our student to add to this, but it's all about balance, right? And being reasonable, right? You got to enjoy life at the same time. You've got to work hard. So I think it's manageable so long as you're mature and you handle your things well. But yes, it's a heavy program. And I think that's why engineers come out and they're excellent managers because they're used to over 4 years, they've had to manage this really heavy workload. Again, can I call on you to add to that, the workload?
Yeah, yeah, no, I would say it is pretty heavy, but a good strategy to have is have a study group and kind of work with people. That way you collaborate and you're more efficient with your time as well. With how competitive it is to get into civil engineering, I'm sure the process is a bit different in Vancouver, but with Okanagan, it is competitive. You have to have a certain average, but it's almost guaranteed what discipline you choose, you'll get into that program.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. So in Vancouver, I'll just add, yeah, it's one of the high demand programs. So you have to have good marks to get into it, but it's also one of the large ones. So you can get into it. I think it's very similar. So yeah, it's in high demand, but yeah, work hard and you'll get in.
Maybe I can add a little bit on that,
Please,
building
yeah,
on Mofo's comment that I
yeah.
think study groups. I think yes, engineering in general is heavy, uh, and as my colleague just mentioned, Perry, that's why folks who finishes engineering they are such good managers and they get into their job ready in many cases, so they're ready to contribute. But one important thing is there's a lot of opportunity to create community. Wherever folks you go, whether it's UBC Okanagan, Vancouver, or somewhere else, like feel free to create community, and that often helps you when becomes your support system in many ways. I think we have another question.
So, yeah, thanks. That's great. Sorry, and then we have a new question. How many people are accepted per year? I think you heard in Vancouver it's 130. In Okanagan it's about 100. So in total, there's 230 civil engineering students in UBC each year. So they're two big programs. I hadn't actually realized how big the civil engineering program. When you think about, wow, that's pretty impressive, right? I mean, you guys have a big program. That's great. Okay, I think are there international co-op programs? Can I actually call on you to answer that? I wouldn't know. There probably is, but you
Yeah.
know?
I did look into it. So they are, you can do your co-op internationally. So I'm from South Africa, and I did look into seeing if I could do my co-op in South Africa to be back home. The only thing is the company has to pay what a Canadian employer would pay. Otherwise you're more than welcome. Like some people go to Japan, China, Singapore, Switzerland, to do their co-op, so it is possible.
So I think we've answered all the questions, and actually we're getting close to the end. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and thank you, my colleagues. I think you did a great job, and good luck to everybody. And we'll end it here. Thanks very much.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you. Good luck,
Thanks.
everybody. Thank you, sir,
Yeah,
for
thanks.
leading this. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you,
Thank
Mofo.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
See you guys.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Mm.